Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the live play part. Today and this video, I guess my guest is going to be Steven, who's gonna play with me a little bit of NL20 on the Microgaming network. Hello, Steven, and welcome.
Yeah, hello, Hans. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much for applying, and as well, if everyone wants for the future part of this series that is going to be continuing, you can as well always check out the PPC forums and apply as well for the future. So we're gonna play 3 tables. Let's hope they last and they didn't fall apart. Here on table 2, what exactly happened? I think typically call down top pair 3-bet pot. I think is fine. Also, we don't beat too much. And he has pocket sixes.
Nice.
Okay, interesting. What did exactly happen in that hand?
He was in a small blind and he opened 3x and then I decided to go for a 3-bet. He called, I checked behind the flop and hit on the turn top pair and he bet both streets then. Turn and river.
I think typically it's certainly a bluff that not everybody does, but as I said, I think it's a 3-bet pot, half pot bet on the river. So in the vacuum, I think we don't have any reads on him. I think it's fine to just call down, and I think you are going to be good 1 out of 4 times typically. But what is more interesting, I think, is that you can pick up the read that the guy is capable in 3-bet pots to start attacking. And what's more important, he's doing it not only polarized, which I think a lot of people on the micros does. They frequently polarize themselves when they bluff. So I would say that's like the read that we could kind of use on the guy, because I see him, we have him on 2 tables. Yeah, sure. Maybe could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Well, we actually don't have interesting.
Yeah, well, I started playing a few years ago poker when a friend was already playing, and yeah, I was not. I was, I think, 17 at that stage, and then I came into poker and found BBC 1 year ago, 1.5. I'm not too sure, and since then I started to at least get a little bit better than just break even.
Okay. By the way, what's your highest stakes that you played? I mean, I remember I was reading a little bit like your blogs, because earlier we were like more often blogging. Do you think it was NL50, right? Or
yeah, but I had some like tilt issues there, and then I lost on NL50 like everything that I kept working on NL25 for weeks, and then I got hit back, and yeah, and now I'm.
Seems like my connection is gone.
Oh.
Oh, no, it's fine. I thought for a moment that my connection is gone. No, seems everything fine. So you kind of lost, you had tilt issues.
Yeah, a little bit. Like when I was doing big sessions, like playing for several hours, and then there always comes a spot where you lose 2 or 3 times in a stupid way, and I might think actually about calling here with A7 suited multi-way, but I'm in a big blind and have a bad position. But they are both deep.
I think it doesn't matter too much because your hand plays actually fairly well in multi-way pots. It has a lot of nut potential, and you get a really decent price. I think you have to win, like maybe get 1 out of 5 times you have to win, and I think you are going to frequently be going to win it out of 1 out of 5 times. And typically it's not like you're gonna invest a lot of money when you just have like top pair. So especially like 3-way on these limits, when people frequently triple barrel a6 board multi-way, they just have the ace. So as I said, it's actually a pretty easy hand in some sort of way to play. By the way, table 3, I didn't know if you noticed, you folded 10-4 suited versus a small blind open raise. I think it's a very nice hand to like 3-bet fold typically, because you can choose whatever. I mean, for the sake of the video, you can even play, but I think it's typically against these kind of players. It's rather, I guess, a
Okay.
call would have been better, but I want to say that for the sake of
Uh,
the video, you could have called,
I
but
have not a feeling that he is stealing quite a lot, but he's not folding to 3-bets on the small sample
yeah,
I have. I'm not
yeah, that's
sure.
why yeah, I think I would defend. I mean, this is typically a guy you do want to kind of play pods. He's probably the one who's gonna try to out bluff you, play back at you, and so on. I mean, that's like kind of the assumption. And frequently, what I think is more important, you should not level uh, on his bet size, because he showed he's able to, as I said, he's able to bet with very small sizing with bluff, when a lot of people perceive that as uh, value, and that's why I don't think we should ever against him like level.
Hmm.
What the 10-4 suited hand, I was like saying that it's a very nice hand to like 3-bet bluff with blind versus blind, because it's a hand that still can hit like with a 10 a decent top pair that can get like 2 streets of value out of the middleish pocket pairs that people flat in this on these stakes. And yeah, I mean, and has of course some draw potential. So I think it's typically an okay hand to play.
The Queen 8, I would usually just fold it.
I think it's well. It's a fold. I don't think that I would do a lot. And Jack 7.
Well, I think it's a little bit too weak to open.
No, I personally think it's fine to open Jack 7 suited in these positions.
Um,
Because here for 7 suited, for 7 4 suited, I guess I would fold. Jack 7 suited I would open, because I think uh, typically on the micro stakes people do not tend to defend. I think on the low stakes not either. People do not think to defend that much versus the cutoff open, unless they're on the button, but from the blinds. And the button doesn't seem for now to be super crazy or anything, so he didn't show us any aggression. So I think, I guess in that spot I would typically open um, Jack 7 suited. 7-5 suited, for example, without like a fish in the blinds, I would not open, because if you have like, it's going to be typically very hard to play 7-5 suited and these lowish connectors, because, or like one gappers, because typically if you hit like top pair, it's like difficult to value bet against the regular. Against the fish, it's sort of like easier, but against the regular, it's like always you find a lot of self in spots where you have like second, third pair by the river and what to do and so on.
mm, yeah,
Ace, what's your plan? Do you have any plan with ace 10 off?
in this spot I usually fold because he's like middle position, and I personally open pretty tight in that position. I think the lowest that I am open there's ace 10, so I would just fold it.
I personally would 3-bet against this guy. It's typically a hand that is a little bit like too weak to flat. I think you can do it as well 180 or 2, like a lower size, because in the end we just want to kind of like eyes, sort of like get a sort of like a cheaper bluff. And yeah, it did work out. I think versus a 3.5x open raise, I think the hand is a little bit like too weak to flat on the button, and versus an MP under the gun. So I think it's a very nice hand to put like in a 3-bet bluffing range as well, versus a 3x open raise, and maybe against a 2x or 2.5 calling might be even okay-ish.
Oh fuck, what did happen here? I just timed out. That was
Uh,
awful.
yeah, it's generally like a rule on the Microgaming network. When you kind of like time out and click then back in, you're like paying the blinds. So I think you should open here. You should never check or anything. Like never call, just open. Because I mean, a good regular, let's say, is gonna realize who followed the action, is gonna realize that you have here 100% range. So, but I think it's, as I said, it's typically okay to do. And
I just wanna make it. No, fuck this.
okay, Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Oh, I guess we would hit on the turn. That's like a nice feature on Microgaming, that you can see which card would have come on the turn. I can say, okay, my fold was good or bad.
I think here we'll just fold, but
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I also think it's like a fold without any reads. I think it is a fold. We don't have any reads on the guy till now. Or it's just VPIP is like pretty high up till now. Might he be a fish?
who?
This one guy that he check raised you, DJ Lace.
Yeah, it's 31. So
Yes,
oh
seems like
yeah, I think I should explain my HUD a little bit before. Like the first stats is the VPIP, the pre-flop raise, then a 3-bet whaler, and the fold to pre-flop 3-bet after he raised. I think that are the stats that we might use in the future. And here in the second line, it's the attempt to steal in late position, then the big blind versus small blind fold, and the fold to a button raise.
okay.
I think
Very
that
yeah. I mean, I personally like the HUD. Next, the third row is like probably C-bet, fold to C-bet, and I don't know, probably the last three numbers. I can't really recognize them.
these ones, that's the
No,
aggression.
it's the third row. Third row.
Oh, yeah, this one is the
C-bet.
check raise, the flop raise, C-bet, and this check raise. And this one the fold to check raise.
Okay. So yeah, I personally like simple HUDs a lot. I think there was lately an experiment on the BBC, like Coaching for Profits group, when people had like a very simpler HUD, they had much better results than with like a more complex. So it was like very funny actually.
Yeah, I think I usually just use the left side of the HUD and the right one almost never because there are so little regulars where I have the stats on. So only the attempt to steal and the fold to steal and the VPIP is what I use most of the time to
Yeah,
decide if I open any two in the button or to 3-bet light.
yeah, true. Do you normally play on stars?
Yeah, Poker Stars or Full Tilt I used to play, but at the moment I feel like it's always at the beginning of the year you think like, oh yeah, you might eventually go for Supernova, but no.
In the end, you decided against it?
Yeah, I mean it's just all the time that it's just impossible, or not impossible, but really hard to go with the micro stakes to Supernova. I think.
Yeah, I think it definitely needs a lot of commitment that you
So,
kind of need to plan and so on. I think it's a sick amount of hands
but
for, I guess,
but
a non-professional player. So I would say definitely that it's tough.
yeah, so I just look for the best rake bag, and the rake bag on PokerStars is not as good, but they have lower rake, so I decided to just still play at the moment as well. I used to play on the iPoker network with some extra rake bag, but since they changed some things there, I think it's not anymore that you have those 50% rake back deals, so I'm not too sure.
Well, I think typically iPoker is a very decent site from breakback point of view, but as stars, I think often I think iPoker is even tougher than stars in my opinion because of course these breakback deals attract a lot of people, which is understandable, and um, in general I think probably the stakes where people would get the most difficult, in my opinion, the current stake, probably the fastest evolving are probably the micros. So I would say 2 years ago, micro stakes was way easier than nowadays. And I think on top of that, that iPoker is probably, in my opinion, the toughest as far as I have played and seen. And that's why I typically suggest when people ask me that microgaming is typically a very good choice because you get like 30% rakeback, which is okayish, and you can anytime you want draw the money out. or like choose, okay, tomorrow I need to grind like 50 euros. You can just sit down, grind like 50 euros rake, and just cash it out right in the same moment. That's one feature that I like, and I think you get very frequently reload bonuses, which typically all combined pushes your value between like 40 and 50% rake back. But I would say overall makes the site with somewhat lower competition easier. I would say it would be the better appropriate word to say compared to like stars and full tilt, stars and iPoker.
Yeah, I might just try it out. I mean, now the first step is set, like, we're just registrating. That's always, like, I think the main reason why I used to those sites that I played on, because just registrating and setting everything up can be annoying, but yeah, it's worth it, I
Yeah,
think.
I have to agree. Yeah, it's just that, as I said, it kind of like depends for what you kind of like poker use. I mean, NL20 is typically the limit when you can start in most countries, unless you're living in pretty wealthy countries like probably Sweden, Norway, Switzerland, so on. I guess I would personally call, because the B fish I think should be. I don't know. Sorry, I did mess up. I thought DJ Ace limped. No, it's a fold. You were right about that. I just missed the whole
Yeah,
situation.
man, just folding, I think. I mean, he has 9% 3 out of 32 attempts, but I think the stat is not that I can
Accurate.
trust on it.
Yeah, I do believe you're right. I think I would fold as well. I mean, I would personally probably start thinking about defending maybe with ace 10 suited if I have to make like a loser defend. So I think ace 10 off, ace 10, 10-7 suited, I think it's fine to just fold. That's why I typically said, and when people kind of like ask me where hands do you play, I typically don't play on the toughest sides, because I'm currently still in the process where I'm mostly interested in the money. I mean, if I would play for competition sake, then of course
Would
stars
you
should be.
call the pot size bet here? I mean, I got a pretty decent hand, so
Yeah, I think I would, if I call flop, I think I would definitely call turn. And this is gonna be an interesting spot if he's gonna barrel the river at the turn. Um, I think for half pot, I think I should be calling, and but I think we're gonna play a lot of difficult rivers. That's why calling pockets is going to be tough in this position. And this is like a classic example how can a red line, for example, go pretty go down. I mean, he's now pushing. You don't have a clear idea about his range. I mean, and so you kind of end up folding. I mean, typically runouts with 2 overcards are the one who's gonna be very often bluffed, because I mean, if the guy is a fish, well, it becomes kind of like harder. But this kind of runouts, they're very frequently going to be bluffed, because your range is like very often capped and very easy to read, even for kind of like most, let's say, NL20 regulars. And so it's like very easy to play against. That's why typically in this spot I don't flat the pockets unless
okay.
I think I can really get paid value, because if you like check raising a 5-3, I don't know, 6 board, it's like very easier for the reg, unless you have like a very check raising image for the regular and L20. It's like very simple to just play against. I mean, of course, if the regular is just one of those that is not gonna fold, well, then of course it makes a lot of sense to call. As I said, it's kind of like probably in L20 nowadays games will I think people got better, and so I think you will be harder to get paid if the regulars is somewhat decent. Let's say if the guy is like a better regular on the limit. I think on NL10, NL5, I think it fits fairly well still. But as I said, NL20 is like kind of the limit where people start to make a little bit of money. from poker, playing poker, and so as I said, um, the games get a little bit tougher.
I used to, when I often call in the blinds and I get a board like this with a flush draw, I tend to just go a check raise here because I got the king of diamonds here and oh yeah, well okay, he's not even betting, so never mind.
Check again.
Oh, I should check.
Well, typically you should check because king is typically a hand that hits his range better than your ones. And when he checks back flop, he mostly doesn't have nothing, you know? It's like, okay, if he
Okay.
has a king, he's mostly gonna bet himself, right?
If he maybe
And
he's
so if he has a king, you get the same value as by checking, by betting if you check. Because if he has a king, as I said, he's gonna bet himself. Instead, if you kind of like bet, you kill all the possible bluffs that he could have in that hand. I mean, for example, some might get stop board and like bet turn and then shove river to make it fold like a jack to represent king X, and all of a sudden you got his $5 by just by just letting him bluff in
mm,
that spot.
personally think that I should just check fold here.
No, I think you should bet if you 3-bet here because you got the ace of clubs, which means that you can typically make a lot of pressure on future hands, in future streets, and I think it's going to be interesting why you 3-bet in the first place.
Oh, okay.
Because in the first place, I think against that guy you should be rather using a more stronger type. I think on the ace you should be typically checking, because he also has a lot of aces that float at this flop, and these aces are stronger than your ones. So I think it's a check, and of course check call, you're not going to fold. And the river brings a king, and typically, I guess I would here call down if he bets, because you also have the nut flush draw, which kind of removes some flush draws from his range, and as you can see he had king 10, so he took the most value out of the hand. If you cannot follow, you just have to tell me, maybe, because for a potential viewer might also be a little bit like confusing what am I exactly explaining here.
Yeah, well, I usually moved from because I'm used to play like 4 speed tables, fast fold format, and there I'm just going clicking, and don't go into pots where I lose lots of money because I've just when I was reviewing my stats and I just saw that I'm losing a lot of money in those spots where I level myself after a 3-bet. Right, was just going on those stats that people are folding a lot on the 3-bets, and then just kept pounding on it while they are usually folding every weekend, and they already made clear that they are not going to fold because they have a good hand, and I was just keep barreling.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I said, it's very likely, it's very possible that sometimes myself as a kind of like higher staking players, I lost connection to like the micros, because it's like whole different world, starting from the thought process up to like some other skills. So as I said, if you have a question, you should probably stop me and ask me, because probably the potential viewer might also uh, might ask the same questions himself. So that's why I kind of like hope. Did you maybe get the king 10? Why I said you with the king 10 you should check the turn.
Yeah, like I'm getting money from. I mean, if I would have bet, he would have folded probably, and if he had an ace, he would have had me beat and just bet the same. So the
Yeah,
outcome would be the same if he had me beat, and if he hasn't, I'm getting money. Yeah, that's
Yep, that's pretty much exactly my
Um,
thoughts. You kind of have to like think how to extract as well value out of a certain like bluffing range, because like on a deuce 7 board, people very frequently versus a half pot size c bet tend to float like broadways, suited broadways, or suited connectors with like backdoor flush draw possibilities. So it's very nice when you want to hit your ace. That it's typically a very weak ace, and he has a lot of better ace, and you can't like go for 3 streets of value. So I mean, turn and river go for value. I think it's typically a hand that is better works as a check on the turn than on the river.
if there wouldn't have been an ace, but for example, a club, I would have c betted.
Yeah, I think you're right. You should be c-betting. A check raise would have also been interesting on the turn. To check and let him bet, and then you know, like check shove. But I think we were a little bit like too deep, or maybe what I can't remember the stack size,
Yeah.
but would have also been pretty interesting. As I said, this way with a check raise, you kind of also pick up value from certain overcards that he would kind of bet as a bluff, and maybe get the full pocket fours or pocket fives. Do you think about calling this 3-bet or what?
Yeah. I,
I think default I'm folding without like a reasonable proof how much he 3-bets. I think personally folding should be your primary decision. Then like with like reads that he's a lot of one and dunning, which means that he a lot of bets just flop and then gives up, so you kind of are able to float profitably. I think it's then kind of like better.
oh.
Uh, let's do it a couple of more minutes and then wrap this up. So your usual stakes are NL20, NL10. Where do you feel comfortable at currently?
Yeah, on Coral Poker, which is an iPoker skin, I played NL20 the last days, but I got then crushed and cashed out and moved to PokerStars where I was playing NL10 then again, because, yeah, I kind of feel like always starting from new is, uh, well,
Motivating?
no, like, I get trust in the game, like,
Ah,
that's,
yeah, I
uh,
do believe fresh start typically do you fairly well. I think Ace 9 is fine to just call here. I think as a 3-bet works kind of loose because the hand is it's like hard to play post.
yeah,
Um, but that's why I think using a call to call here out of the small blind versus a button open, I think it's fine. So you kind of like keep his weaker 9x and potential a6 as well in. So I think I like a call there. Yeah,
yeah,
as I said, I do believe that speed games are typically are just tough, I would say.
yeah,
And as it depends what you're focus on, whether it's like on profit or rake back or like winnings. You should typically aim for the side. Um, and that's why up till now, I think the Hive network and the Microgaming network are generally a very good mix of like rakeback that you get and what you can make from winnings. Because as I said, the competition is not that tough. We didn't see like up to now like any like really rag who crushed like run over the table or something. So that's why I think the field is here a little bit softer than on these two sides where you are at, and you get as well always between like 30 and 50% drag back depending on which side we are talking about. Kind of like always, it's a certain thing to get used to um, for especially like for the software and so on. And but I think in the long run, it's typically the small sites are aside from like if you have problems trusting them, security, I think they're typically the better choice. But
yeah, I mean those fast forward ones because I usually play like at the evening and until the and in the night in the night and on some sites I feel like the traffic is getting lower. Like a mix maybe during the day on those lower traffic sites can be good. Uh,
Yeah, that's true. Here, I think you can check raise, you can just bet again. I think both lines are fine. I mean, typically you want him to give a stab with his ace queen, ace jack that kind of floated, and now you're just gonna check push. I mean, you should be having the best hand against the fish. I mean, he looks like a fish. So, I mean, if he has a flush, well, you're gonna lose everything, but at least you pick up value out of his
oh,
ace queen, ace jack type of hand.
yeah.
um, which or like queen jack, whatever he bets, and he, in the end he might even bet call you with the worst king or like a 10x because he seems like very fishy. So I think we took the max value out of that spot. Um, do you have any questions for me?
Um. Oh, this spot right now. Hmm. I feel like I would just bet now once, and if the gets.
I think you should bet twice, and if you're betting twice, you should bet like 2/3 to half pot twice, because your top pair kind of like sucks, but your opponent seems okay fishy, so you bet again once, two, or a 180, something like this. He's maybe calling you, and then like river is a check and pray pretty much. His king queen, well, as I said, it's gonna be a value bet on the turn for
Yeah.
sure. Because broken stack, I thought he's going to be a fish, so
Do you think it was also a tell because he was calling super quick and then just checking
yeah, I mean,
instantly? Like this was really fast.
yeah, exactly. That was like really fast. And whenever they do, I tend to bet even faster than they can actually check. Actually call. So yeah,
Oh,
uh,
he had to make this big payment, so I guess I
yeah.
will
So
just
yeah,
raise now big.
yeah, exactly. You should raise here almost always because you have to pay attention. I think it's fine. Just one, make it larger so you don't incline him to call. I think is most of the time going to be folding in this spot.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
let's make this one round and then like sit out and wrap this video up.
Mhm. He was three betting now. Should I just call it? I think.
You can call, you can four bet. I think both our lines are fine. I typically get on these takes stacking off with jacks is a little bit like difficult pre-flop because at the best you're kind of like flipping, especially for like 225 big blinds. I think it's going to be a little bit like too loose. That's why I do like a call. Uh, but he also got very large, so now it's interesting if he has any 10x, so you kind of like make min check raise. I do like a min check raise here in 3-bet pot. You're gonna very easily lose your stack here, but there's not a whole lot you can typically do here. But you might get shoved on. I think you need a little bit like protection slash team value, call it, because it's going to be hard to call down a lot.
Yeah. I also feel like but if we're doing it with jacks, couldn't we just do it then with a middle pair as well?
Uh, can, can you maybe repeat, because I think we had a little bit like internet connection problems.
If I'm doing it with jacks, which is an overpair in that situation, shouldn't I just do it then with a middle pair as well? A min raise?
No, because typically people in a 3-bet pot do not tend to fold top pair type of hand. And with jacks, as I said, he's not gonna have too many 10x, but most of the time they are going to have a little bit of like 10x. And aside it's from like a hand like 9-7 or jack-9 that might decide to shove like an open-ender. I mean, you kind of like block that, but doesn't matter. I think you typically are doing fairly okayish, and he does have weaker hands in his range since it's blind versus blind, and that's why I do like a check min raise. For example, blind versus blind, I would like it, but for example, under the gun versus button, I would never even think about it.
Okay.
It's like the difference in these positions. And why you always kind of 6-max, you have to make this kind of shift when you're playing. As I said, the call is also fine. It's just like on the turn then lately on the turn, if you catch like you want to check shove, if you bet, and as I said, it's not going to be easy to play the turn.
Okay.
Anyway, that was it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Steven, thanks for participating,
Yeah,
and I
thank
hope
you.
you learned as well. So see you guys in the next videos.